top of the square. Huge leap over the top. Can you believe it? Jamie Elliott.
Running hard. Handball inside was terrific. Yaron. Still Yaron. Cheeky little bounce. Oh, well done. Runs towards goal. It's a chance. It's as good as you'll ever see.
This video analysis will analyse the sport of AFL. AFL, or Australian Football League, was founded in 1896. There are currently 18 teams spread throughout Australia who are associated with the top league. AFL is typically a male-dominated sport. However, the Women's AFL League will begin in Australia in February 2017 with 8 teams beginning the competition. We are going to look at the 3 fundamental skills required to successfully participate within the sport of AFL. These 3 skills are kicking, hand passing, and marking, or otherwise known as catching. The performer's skills, who will be analysed, is a Year 12 student, Andrew Johnson. Andrew will be the participant within this video demonstrating these skills as we analyse his strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. Recommended areas for improvement will include effective practices that will assist Andrew in improving his overall AFL skills to rectify the identified weaknesses. This will be achieved using various activities, drills, strategies, and instructions. According to the Australian Health and Physical Education curriculum, students work independently and collaboratively in movement-based activities to develop personal and social skills. Students gain an awareness and appreciation of their own and others' strengths and abilities when working independently and/or collaboratively in movement-based activities. Within the sport of AFL, participants work tirelessly together to achieve a desired outcome of kicking goals and winning the game. As Andrew is already 16 years of age, Andrew has already developed a large amount of fundamental movement skills required to participate in sport. According to the New South Wales Department of Education and Training, fundamental movements are the skills which children need to participate successfully in all types of games, physical activity, and sport, and include jumping, running, hopping, and more manipulative skills such as catching, throwing, and kicking. As Andrew is already proficient within fundamental movement skills such as running, kicking, and catching, fine-tuning these skills according to the New South Wales Department of Education and Training will enable Andrew to grow and develop his AFL. Let's have a look at Andrew's kicking ability. Within the personal and social capability strand of the Australian curriculum, taking a strengths-based approach is one of the 5 propositions that have shaped the entire health and physical education curriculum. Therefore, it is clear that acknowledging Andrew's kicking strengths is key to Andrew's development and growth in AFL. Here, AFL great Nathan Buckley will demonstrate kicking an AFL ball.
Keep your head over the ball, body slightly bent, with your eyes on the ball as you guide it down to your foot with one hand. Get into the habit of pointing your toe to the target when following through. That will help you with your accuracy.
Here we can see that Andrew's head is down, looking at the ball, making eye contact as Nathan Buckley identified. Andrew also releases the ball with one hand. This is a strength in Andrew's kicking. However, as Andrew releases the ball, we can see that the ball deviates from where he guides it onto his foot, and Andrew does not fully extend his leg and point his toe in the direction he wishes the ball to go. Here is an example of guiding the ball in the direction of travel onto the kicking foot. And here is an example of Andrew incorrectly releasing the ball, and as a result, the ball deviates from the direction of travel Andrew wishes the ball to go. The importance of pointing your toe when kicking determines the direction of travel the ball will go when it makes contact with your foot. Here is an example of incorrect toe pointing and the result it has within an AFL game.
Rewatch, 35 metres out. to keep the Bombers out of the 8th and to win the game for the Saints. He's missed. Rewald has missed. Look at the Bomber fans. Look at the players. Good long. Jarrah! Yeah. Tippett. Burton. Goes long.
Marking or catching the ball is an essential skill required in the sport of AFL. Here, professional football player Lockie Hansen will describe how to catch an AFL ball.
Eyes must always be focused on the ball from the moment it leaves the boot of the kicker. Always try to position your body so that it's in line with the flight of the ball. Always move forward to meet the ball. The minute you stand there and wait for it to come to you, you're giving your opponent the extra chance to come and spoil.
Let's compare these tips with Andrew's catching and marking ability. Here we can see that Andrew continually keeps his eyes on the ball. Andrew is always moving his body into a position where he is underneath the ball, ready to give himself the best advantage to catch the ball. As Lockie Hansen stated, keeping your eyes on the ball, moving to the ball, and positioning your body under the ball are essential skills required when marking an AFL ball. Here, professional AFL player Kurt Tippett suggests an alternative method of jumping when catching an AFL ball.
The lifting of the knee will give you a bit of protection from oncoming players, and it will also help you get high off the ground.
Here it is evident that Andrew lifts his knee and drives it into the sky as he jumps off the ground to catch the ball. This assists him to gain great height over potential opposition contesting for the ball and allows Andrew to continue to keep his body behind the ball. Kurt Tippett further suggests that an essential tool to marking an AFL ball is to keep your eyes on the ball at all times, even when you are jumping into the air. It is evident that Andrew continues to Here we can see Andrew moving to position his body to the ball, almost taking his eyes off the ball as it comes into his hands, but holds onto the ball and quickly offloads the ball to continue playing. Here, professional AFL player Jobe Watson outlines the 3 essential teaching points when handballing in AFL. Firstly, the ball must be cradled with your platform hand ready for impact from your fist. Secondly, you must hit the ball with a clenched fist. Your thumb must be on the outside of your fist to assist in accuracy and to prevent potential injury. And lastly, ensuring you step forward onto your front foot, left foot for right-handers, and point your toes towards your target whilst having slightly bent knees. Common faults when hand passing include passing with a stiff arm or throwing the ball up off the platform hand. Here we can see that Andrew cradles the AFL ball nicely in his left palm, preparing for his right fist to swing through and make contact with the ball. However, Andrew has a fairly stiff swinging arm, and in order to gain a more accurate hand pass, Andrew needs to relax his swinging arm. It is evident also that Andrew steps forward off his incorrect leg. We will now look at some effective practices that will help to rectify Andrew's weaknesses identified and enable Andrew to further improve his AFL skills. Within the sport of AFL, hand passing is a fundamental skill that requires participants to use a range of critical and creative thinking in regards to who, when, and where they're going to pass the ball. I have developed an activity for Andrew to further extend his skill level and critical thinking when hand passing, as he determines the amount of power required to land the ball on the target. As the video demonstrates, when Andrew is successful at hitting the target, he progresses onto a further, more challenging hand passing distance, further challenging and practicing his hand passing skill. Melissa Chong, 2016, suggests that elements of learning and teaching and movement, to improve Andrew's performance includes strategies such as identifying Andrew's strengths and weaknesses in his performance, determining underlying components of the skill, and creating a safe and supportive learning environment for Andrew. Andrew's strengths when passing were identified as having a good platform for the ball to rest on and contacting the ball with a closed fist. However, Andrew's weaknesses were identified as Andrew swinging his arm. Andrew's swinging arm was slightly too stiff and he was stepping forward onto his incorrect leg. The developed activity initially requires Andrew to stand stationary with his correct leg, his left leg, forward to assist with muscle memory and to encourage Andrew for when he completes the hand pass to automatically step forward off his left leg. The various targets also encourages Andrew to use a bent swinging arm as he has to determine the power and the distance required to land the ball on the target. Consequently, although we have identified areas for improvement for Andrew, we must be aware of other factors that may influence his performance, such as fatigue, lack of energy, or pressure to succeed. Creating a supportive and encouraging environment for Andrew will aid in Andrew achieving the desired outcomes and successfully completing the required skills. AFL legend and great Cameron Ling stated that during my teenage years, I made sure I learned how to handball with both hands and kick with both feet. Therefore, progressions of this activity could involve Andrew completing the skills with his non-dominant hand to further develop his hand passing ability. Within the Physical Education Senior Syllabus 2010, analysing and applying knowledge and understanding of specific physical activities requires the application of performance strategies to improve physical activity. This further supports the integration of activities to improve Andrew's performance through the developed knowledge and understanding of the requirements and technique needed to successfully kick an AFL ball. Andrew's kicking strengths were identified as having his head over the ball as he begins to kick the ball, releases the ball correctly with one hand, and consistently ensured he pointed his toe in the direction he wished the ball to go. However, Andrew's weaknesses were identified as incorrectly guiding the ball onto his foot and consequently causing the ball to deviate from his desired target. This activity allows Andrew to think about his technique when kicking, as he is under no immediate pressure from the opposition and is in a supportive and encouraging environment purely central to bettering his kicking ability. The Australian Health and Physical Education curriculum encourages students to develop their ability to think logically, critically, and creatively in response to a range of situations as they learn to critically evaluate evidence or game-like scenarios to generate, explore, and determine potential outcomes or possibilities. As Andrew participates in this activity, he is required to continually assess and evaluate his kicking performance through determining the correction or power required to achieve hitting the target. AFL legend and great Cameron Ling states, "I trained myself under a bit of intensity as if it were a game. Therefore, incorporating a game sense approach under high intensity to this activity will further help to develop Andrew's skills within a game and consequently improve his AFL. As Andrew's catching was hard to fault, small activities such as practicing catching with and without pressure from the opposition and catching a variety of kicks where the ball deviates in the air were activities that Andrew participated in to further improve his catching ability. Through the incorporation of the guidelines and recommendations from the Australian curriculum, advice and suggestions from past and present professional AFL players, and the analysis of Andrew's technique through the use of video footage allows us to analyse, critique, and improve Andrew's overall AFL ability through credible, effective practices."
Had to give to anybody, and Zorko got a mark, and